It's a new day. Are you ready? It's not a brand new day. It doesn't have that new car kind of smell, but it's a new day and it smells good enough, so we're going to take it. Those of you that may have tuned in yesterday will know that I was in the depressive swamp and it was very difficult for me to move. Things just didn't come easy, but that's okay because with my gentleness practice, I still get things done. I still move my life in a positive, powerful direction. And here I am right now. And the only reason that I'm mentioning yesterday is to make the point that I'm very careful not to let my days stick together, to allow this to be a new day. And again, it's not going to be a brand new day. It's still me. It's still my life. It's still my environment. But it doesn't have anything to do with yesterday. I don't want yesterday bleeding into today and informing how I approach the day. I don't want my feelings yesterday or my failings yesterday to inform how I step today. I'm going to be Tim, but I'm going to be Tim in this local environment, and local in a sense of time rather than in a sense of space. So this is a big part of my practice, is the locality of time. Okay, what time am I in? Because what our brains want to do is weave this story of past, present, and future, dump it onto your shoulders in this particular moment, and then say, okay, you've got to take a step with this future waiting for you and with that past clinging to you. And the person that's got to take the step, the right hemisphere, is like, whoa, that's too much. I can't do it. That's too much weight. But the left hemisphere, the one that plans, the one that designs your to-do list, it doesn't feel the weight because it's not connected to the body, nor is it connected to the weight of emotion, the felt sense of things. So it can create plans. It can tell you what you're going to do when you get all excited about it abstractly. But then the right hemisphere is like, whoa, wait a minute. You didn't check in with me. We can't do that. Are you kidding? So a big part of my process is to chop my days apart from each other and to not tell a story that links them. Now, I can look back and see how they link together, and I can create a historical narrative of what has happened and why it might have happened that way. But I'm very careful not to do that in the present about what's going on right now. So I want to talk a little bit more about this idea of separating or disintegrating things. Now, based on what you've heard me say up until this point, my notes from the master and his emissary, it sounds like the left hemisphere is the bad guy in most situations and the right hemisphere is the good guy. And that can be the case if the left hemisphere acts on its own and doesn't take the right hemisphere into consideration. So if our linguistic narrative takes precedence and tries to dominate the world of being, the world of embodiment, yeah, that's problematic. But when left hemisphere consciousness is integrated with and allowing of right hemisphere consciousness, then it's an incredibly powerful ally. So how I'm using it in this situation, in addition to chopping up my days, because it likes to chop things up into parts, I'm also chopping up my doings. I'm making sure that my doings don't stick together. So it's not just a story of me and time, but it's the story of what needs to be done. So I want to make sure that I compartmentalize what I'm doing as well. So the right hemisphere is going to dwell in the global, in the big picture, and the felt sense of that big picture. So if the left hemisphere comes up with running, you need to go for a run, right hemisphere is going to feel the weight of that concept, and it's like too much. But if we can train our left hemisphere planner to break it up into parts and say, okay, we're going to do the dressing thing, then the right hemisphere can tune into how that feels and say, okay, yeah, we can do the dressing thing. So my practice is using the skills of the left to chop things up, to disintegrate, so that when the right hemisphere takes a look and then brings it into the body and say, what's it going to feel like to do this? It never comes away with, can't do it, too much, freaking out, overwhelmed, shutting down, bye-bye. And this is how you get the left hemisphere, the non-feeling part of your brain, to engage in a gentle practice by letting it chop things up. Okay, upstairs to do something. Don't know yet, don't care, but it'll happen. See you in a minute. I think I'm gonna do some work in the stairwell. It is super nice today. I've got a very important question for you. Where did the Lone Ranger take his garbage? And that's exactly where I'm about to go. To get rid of some family trash. Interesting concept. Do some recycling and look in the metal pile. There's always some really fun finds there. And then I'm going for a run. See you in a bit. So here's another elliptical in the dump. Don't know if it works. Most of them do when I find them. Over here is a treadmill, which may or may not work. And even if the motor doesn't work, you can always just power it with your own feet. Make it a manual treadmill. Crazy the stuff you find in here. I'm just getting outside to run, and I took a few steps and my legs felt really, really heavy. And this is normal for me. I rarely get out and feel good, feel fresh, because I train a lot and I'm getting older and recovery takes longer. But I also know that the longer I run, the better I'm gonna feel. So it's the opposite of what you think. The more I run, the less tired I get. The most tired that I am on almost every run is the very beginning. So this is an important thing to understand about the human body, that fatigue is more of an emotion than it is a physical reality. Like, my brain is trying to talk me out of running, but once I get into running, it makes resources available. But at the very same time, even though that I know this, there's a part of me that wants to turn around and go back inside because it doesn't feel adequate. I look at my teammates and people that I follow on Strava, and they're doing every single run between 6:20 a mile and say 6:50 a mile. That's their training pace. That's the average pace for their runs. They'll go out and do a 10-mile run at 6:20 pace. And that's simply not possible for me. If I were to try to do that, I would be miserable and I'd quit running. I wouldn't stay with it. But because I allow myself to slow down, stop, walk, run at a 10 or 11-minute mile, it allows me to get to the point where running a 6:20 mile feels comfortable, but it doesn't happen right away. And I look at their heart rates. So I don't just tune into how fast people run, but I tune into their heart rates. And it looks like, I'd say a majority of them are running at a level that they're not really benefiting from. They'd be better off slowing down. So their slow workouts are not slow enough, and therefore they're probably tired all the time. So their hard workouts are probably not hard enough because they haven't recovered. So the key thing for me is not to walk out the door and just knock out a 6:40 mile, but to walk out the door, see what I'm working with, and gradually move my body into a place where it feels like, oh yeah, I can run. But it doesn't happen right away, and you got to stick with it. You've got to allow that emotion of fatigue to pass out of your body and show your body that that's no longer a good strategy. And then suddenly, boom, you feel amazing. So that mural was graffitied with the word vote the other day before they had a chance to put up the final rendering here. And as you look at the Bennington-centric view of the universe, over here you can see that they made a mistake with Washington, D.C. They copied the distance to Christchurch, New Zealand, and somehow that also ended up in Washington. And I know Vermont feels like it's in a different country most of the time. It doesn't feel like it's in the United States. Very different ethos here, but yeah, DC's a little bit closer than that. There's a fun fixer-upper. Ooh, I love that. A window area on the top floor. baby's got potential. And I love the black and white contrast on this one with all the windows. It's a really neat look. Somebody's redone all the windows and doors in their house. And this is out on the curb for free. And you might think it's garbage, but to me, this equals glass greenhouse.
It's not that much, but would you be able to put that in for me?
Yeah, pop the hood. Let's do it. I needed a break from this hill anyway. That's not it. Oh, you know what? Was that it? There we go.
I heard that.
There's the other lever. I'm not sure where the other lever is. No, on other cars it's right there. They don't.
Yeah, they're right up.
I don't know where it is on this car. These foreign cars. Okay, let's see if we can find the lock. I see where it's locked, but it's way too far to reach. I wonder what this is. Oh, there it is. It's that yellow thing. Okay, there we go. What's your name?
My name is Pat.
Pat, I'm Tim. Nice to meet you. Here we go. Whoops.
Something went down
Yep,
there.
I got it. It came right through the bottom. Okay.
Yeah.
Get that off. I'll set you right up here. Put that yellow switch right there next time. Okay, there we go. Pat, you have a great day.
You too.
I've been admiring this chair over here.
Oh.
Somebody knows how to restore furniture. That thing's a beaut. A couple weeks ago, that mountain was on fire with red, orange, and yellow leaves. Now it's just purple mountain majesty. So the run is done. It turned out to be about 6 miles, and it's pretty hilly. Bennington's not flat. And you can see that I started out pretty slowly with a 10:22 first mile, and then was just cruising for 4 miles and then started picking it up. And the final mile drops about between 3 and 1%. So it's not a steep downhill. It's very, very gradual. You wouldn't even really consider it a downhill. But 5:45, pretty quick. I never would have imagined that I could run that fast when I started the run. So if I tried to go out and run quickly from the get-go, or with the goal of running quickly, it wouldn't have happened. But because it was such a gradual, gentle, exploratory start, by the time my body felt like moving fast and I let it do so, well, there you go. It was kind of a fun, quick mile. It's 9 p.m. and my day is ending, so I'm going to head home. But I want to tell you a little about my elliptical sessions. I did 2. The first one happened immediately after my run. So I ran 6 miles, got back to the studio, looked at the data, and then I was in my sweaty clothes and I thought, you know what? Let's just jump right on the machine right now. Because when you're coming from a run, your body and your mind are already in that state. I'm dressed, I'm sweaty, my heart rate's still somewhat elevated. I'm not opposed to movement. There's no obstacle, so just get right on the machine. And I did 20 minutes. I had a small time window because of dinner, but also I really didn't feel like doing more than 20 minutes. That felt like enough. So I went home, got some food, and then came back thinking maybe I would do another hour. But as I got on the machine and started watching a movie, The Gift, with Cate Blanchett, Keanu Reeves, Greg Kinnear, Hilary Swank, and a few others, Giovanni Ribisi. The film is tough. So after 20 minutes, I had to turn it off. I just couldn't, even though I'm absolutely in love with Cate Blanchett, especially in this film. I think it may be her best film. And it's the film that I connect with her the most in. Anyway, I turned that off. I took maybe a 2-minute rest to answer an email. Then I got back on and watched YouTube videos, but 20 minutes more was all I could do. So a 40-minute session following the 20 minutes earlier today. So an hour, which again is a small day for me. But the important point is that when I get myself into a position to do a run or to do an elliptical or to do any kind of movement, I let my body decide when it's done. I don't force myself to power through. Gentleness is my main operating principle. So if I'm on the machine and I'm just not feeling it, and I look down at my watch and it's like, oh, 7 minutes. And then I look again, oh, 13 minutes. And I look again, oh, 18 minutes. And then I'm looking, ooh, 18:15, ooh, 18:30. Then I know it's time to get off. So even though my body is normally capable of doing a lot more, sometimes it really doesn't want to. And I honor that. So I still got an hour done. I still got a 6-mile run with a pretty fast mile at the end. And that's not bad. If that's a low day for me, I'm doing pretty good. Again, the goal is consistency, and I don't want to put myself in a debt today. So tomorrow is a new day, and what happened today or yesterday, don't care. I'll deal with tomorrow as it comes, and I will move, and it will be its own independently contained day, and whatever happens, happens. Okay? All right. I'll see you tomorrow.